Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for folks living in San Diego County, whether it's food insecurity, it's the homeless, Alzheimer's, arts, you name it. They're doing great things. And speaking about doing wonderful things, it's the Alzheimer's Association of San Diego Imperial chapter. Longtime friend and colleague is in the house. She's the executive director, Janet Hamada Kelley. How you doing, Janet?
Good. We are keeping busy.
You are keeping busy. I'm trying to think when you were first on our Spotlight show. We've been doing it for 20 years. Would 15 years ago make sense? Or I don't want to date myself. I'm 105 years older than you. So, do you remember when you first came on?
It's been about 15 years. Yeah, it's been a long time.
15 years, exactly. And joined by David Crean, Brilliance Gala chair, and also a contributor to Cloudcast Atlanta. So thank you for that as well, David. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Love doing it with Charles.
Yeah, tell us what you did, if you don't mind, just for a couple of seconds with Cloudcast Atlanta.
Charles and the team were just asking about what the venture capital investment ecosystem looks like for life science companies, biotech, med device companies. And in 2025, it was a pretty challenging year. So we were talking about what does 2026 look like.
Does it look good?
Yeah, it's certainly much better than the last few years.
Yeah.
Capital's available, mergers and acquisitions are happening, IPOs are on the up and up. So looks very positive. I'm very bullish on it.
No, that sounds good. Janet, talk to us about the mission of the association.
Yes, so the Alzheimer's Association is the world's largest voluntary healthcare organization dedicated to advancing global research around dementia, brain health, as well as providing quality care for those who are impacted. And now that we are in an era of treatment, we are really looking at all things brain health.
Yeah, we always do this when we have the Alzheimer's Association on, mainly because of my feeble mind on this aspect. But if you could define, is dementia a part of Alzheimer's or Alzheimer's a part of dementia? We always like to ask that question.
That's a great question. So dementia is the umbrella term, and Alzheimer's is a type of dementia, the most common type of dementia, but there are several different types as well.
Right, and as we've talked about before, as we age, there's some good things about aging, and there's some things that come with aging, and one of them is an increase at Alzheimer's. Or am I right or wrong on that?
Yes, there is a higher prevalence as you age, but Alzheimer's and dementia are actually not just age-related. So
Right.
There's a lot more research now about early onset, and it's really exciting because there's actually tests and treatments for early stage. So all of it is moving a little bit earlier, but lots more resources.
David, what got you involved with this organization?
I got involved with the organization about 10 years ago, and I was actually in New York at the time taking care of my father because he was in decline, and he got diagnosed at that time with early stage mild cognitive impairment. And so I'm like, I got to do something, So I'm a long distance caretaker. He's back in Western New York.
Yeah.
And I just called up the local chapter here, and I was doing some research. And I said, I have to get involved. And as Janet probably knows, when I get involved, I generally go at the board level.
Fantastic. Good for you.
Besides just writing checks, I'd like to get more involved and really help drive leadership. So I contacted them and I said, hey, I'm going to be back in San Diego and next week. Can we meet? And so I met. This is the predecessor of Janet. Her name was Katie, and I met with her. And at the time, I learned about where the organization was, and we can certainly peel that back. But that's how I got.
Right.
That's how I got involved.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that, and it just sits there and focuses on things. We love to see the people that get involved in that aspect of it, and knee deep, obviously, because of your dad, but other people as well in this. Janet, any connections with Alzheimer's in your family or friends or both?
Yes, well, obviously now in this role, I have lots of connections, but coming to this organization, it was very special, the mission. I have family members who had shown signs of dementia. They were not living in the U.S., and so I think, that's a whole nother issue, right? But we saw cognitive decline, and I am currently experiencing this with some of my own family members, so it's definitely a cause near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, we always say this when we talk about Alzheimer's or, other things that people have to, do care with, and is your dad still alive?
Yes, he is. He's 84 years old, still alive, and
congratulations.
I think it's an interesting experience. Let's just call that.
Yeah,
challenging.
Well, we talk about quite a bit, and we actually started this. David, I'm not sure if you know, I ran. Janet knew this, community and public relations for the Union Tribune for seems like a zillion years, for God's sake. But we started something about caregivers, and what we always talk about, especially with Alzheimer's, and it could be other groups too. There's 600,000 caregivers in San Diego County. 300,000 of them look like us. That we weren't trained to be a caregiver, but now we're a caregiver in this aspect of it. And maybe, Janet, you can talk about that. One of the great things that Alzheimer's Association does is show people how to navigate some of this.
Absolutely. So we have lots of resources, but you're so correct in that caregiving is a whole journey, and each day is different. And there are so many things that we don't know. Just because you have a familial connection or it's somebody that you love does not mean that you are equipped to be the best caregiver. So the Alzheimer's Association provides free education throughout the community, and not only that, other resources. So we have a 24/7 helpline available all day, every day for any issue related to dementia or caregiving. And we also have lots of free education here in San Diego County, as well as several support groups. And so really it's to make sure individuals know that they are not alone in this journey. There is a community around them, and there are lots of people working to advance the treatments as well as care for this disease.
Yeah, we're chatting with Janet Hamada Kelley. She is the executive director of the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial chapter, joined by, I guess you're her boss. Is that correct, David, to some extent?
No.
Okay.
No, she's not coachable. She has no. I love you.
Yeah.
No, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I would say I'm her partner.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
I'm not her boss.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that I'm just teasing Janet in that aspect of it. David is the Brilliance Gala chair. We're going to talk about that in a few seconds. But talk about the Alzheimer's disease update. I mean, where are we with Alzheimer's disease? We talked about the most important thing and anything. My father was a medical doctor, so I know research is absolutely paramount. Talk about that, David.
Yeah, let's just break it down into two main areas. One's diagnostics and the other one's on therapeutics. So many great things are happening on the innovation front regarding diagnostics. I mean, there's now approved blood tests. Instead of going in for like a spinal tap or for an MRI image or a CAT scan, it's you have a simple non-invasive blood test that can determine whether you're at risk or if you do have some of the biologic markers, what they call like amyloid beta or tau. Don't need to get into that scientific unless you want to certainly geek out on the science.
I know a little about amyloid.
Okay, very good. So wonderful progress in there, and that's really needs to be coupled with the therapeutics because the current therapeutics, and there's primarily two that people are sort of pointing towards, and that's with going after amyloid beta with monoclonal antibodies. So 3 years ago we didn't really have much. We were all chasing signs and symptoms, but now we're at disease modifying therapies with these monoclonal antibodies, both aducanumab and lecanemab. So very, very, and donanemab, donanemab and lecanemab. And so very, very excited about that, but it's targeting early stage disease. So in the case of, for example, my father, he's later stage, he doesn't qualify for that. So,
got it.
you're really just managing symptoms at that point.
Right. And we're chatting with David Crean. He's the Brilliance Gala chair and colleague of Janet Hamada Kelley, executive director of the Alzheimer's Association in San Diego, and Imperial chapter in this. Are you seeing more, Janet, and you jump in on this too, David, people being diagnosed at earlier ages with Alzheimer's or not necessarily?
We are seeing a higher rate of diagnosis earlier, and I think part of that is due to the raised awareness and education, as well as the resources. Right.
Yeah, in this area. But it must be, I'll ask David on this one. When you got the news about your dad, did it hit you like between the eyes, or no, that's part of life and an aspect of it? When we talk to a lot of folks that come on the show here, and when the first, my goodness, is he going to remember me, or is she going to remember me at all? Yeah. Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be 20 years? How did you feel when you first got the news?
Yeah, I'm certainly having a background in neurodegeneration and neurology. It didn't hit me like it maybe would somebody in the lay community. I certainly know a lot about it. But I guess my first inclination was say, well, it's a little bit of age-related dementia, just getting older. And then as I was meeting with my father's neurologist and other healthcare practitioner, I'm like, no, this is beyond that. This is real. And then doing some research on my family background, with especially on my dad's side, with both my paternal grandmother and paternal grandfather also having it. I then actually went and started getting tested because I want to know my risk level. And so that's when it really hit me. It's like, all right, I got to really step up. I'm kind of the medical guy in my family,
right?
And with my siblings, and they always turn to me. So
is it hereditary?
There is a genetic component to it.
Yeah. Right.
So
we come back from break. We're going to talk about the Brilliance Gala, Music Meets Memory. Can't wait to talk about that aspect as well. And then hear both from Janet and David why it is absolutely super critical for everyone to get involved, because I don't know how that can escape you. I don't know anybody walking on the face of the earth, at least in San Diego, that doesn't have some connection to somebody who has Alzheimer's, depending on what degree it is. When we return after this short message.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for folks in San Diego County. Just so pleased to have back with a return appearance and many more to come down the road from the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial chapter. My longtime friend and colleague, Janet Hamada Kelley. She's the executive director, joined by David Crean, the Brilliance Gala chair. I'll start with you on this, David, and pivot over to Janet. Talk about the event. When is the event? What's it all about? And I love the fact that it's music meets memory.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. So the Brilliance Gala is taking place on Friday, March 1st. not too far away. I mean, it's less than 4 weeks away. It's at the Seabird Ocean Resort in Oceanside. Beautiful, beautiful venue. It's our signature fundraising event for our chapter, and the theme is music meets memory, and we're really excited about that. We can certainly talk a little bit more about why music meets memory. It's just not a theme that we just drew up on ChatGPT or Cloud AI, right? So there's actually some real science behind that.
Yeah, and again, Janet, what's the date of that again?
It's May 1st.
May 1st, very good. And where's it going to be held?
It's going to be at the Seabird up in Oceanside.
Okay, good. So, and David doesn't know this is the first time I've met him, but I probably bored you to death, Janet, since you've been on the show, because this time of year I get to go to New Orleans for my 37th visit to the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. So music is in the blood. I love to hear this. Talk about the connection, music and the mind.
Yes. Yeah. So David can jump into the science part of it. But what I can share is that every conversation we had around dementia tends to be challenging. But as soon as you asked about a positive moment or a moment that brought your loved one back to who you remember them to be, it was around music. It was around a special song or a melody. And it really brought, joy back to them and brought a sense of happiness. And so we wanted to really capture that, especially in a moment where there's so much hope and promise around dementia treatments. We thought this was just the perfect theme, but I know David has a lot more around the science behind it.
Yeah, please, David.
Yeah, no, there's a certain area in the brain that it doesn't get affected. So it has, thankfully, it's a very resilient area. And, I can only speak about like my father, who is a big Elvis fan. And there you go. Don't worry, I'm not going to jump on any songs right now.
He's in my top 3.
Yeah,
literally.
So it's interesting because my father can still remember all the Elvis songs, but I ask him about what he did like 5 minutes ago. Son, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's a remarkable neurological property, and all the neuroscientists, it's supported by science here, but it's unaffected, and it has a great way of unlocking these memories. Unfortunately, in people with Alzheimer's who really struggle with memory, and when words sort of alone cannot describe it. So very exciting.
Yeah, do you guys work with Resounding Joy at all?
We do have some programs in the community with Resounding Joy, yes.
Yeah, and we love having them on and talking about this because the music, and we all know this, if the whole world actually would focus on music and the arts and dance and theater, it would be a very different place, to say the least, on it. And with this neuroscientist background in yours, whether you have dementia, Alzheimer's, or anything, it just unlocks so much stuff behind that. Talk about that, David.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, I can talk about it from a personal experience.
Yes.
In that, like I said, when words cannot describe, and patients or those who are afflicted with dementia have struggles with either memories or words coming up, or just anything is with daily living. It's interesting, and you can bring up a song that they hear, and you see that the lighting up in the face. I can only speak it from my father's standpoint, and he starts singing the song, and I'm like, who is this person? I haven't seen this person in many, many years. So, and he's been afflicted now with cognitive impairment for about 9 years now.
And does he have a caregiver?
Yeah, he does. He's actually in a VA memory care center back in Western New York.
Yeah.
So he's with his people. He's a former Marine, and he's with his
service.
Yeah, he's with his people, and he really loves it because it's like he's around his tribe. And so going to visit him, I'll actually be out there in about 2.5 weeks visiting him, and I try to plan to sing a song, or at least bring a song to play for him, because I love seeing his face light up rather than sort of that stare that you see with many of these patients.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me you were on a show where the host he won't sing because he doesn't want to sit there and have the cats go and die on that, but knows every single Elvis song and all this, and just brings back great memories of Elvis. My father, who passed away from amyloidosis and many, many moons ago, but one of the great memories, we were in Las Vegas when Elvis was playing at the International Hotel and all that business. Janet, what can we do? What can we do as our listeners to support what you folks are doing? Volunteer, donate, spread the word, everything in between?
Yes, everything. No, the raising the awareness, I think, is one of the things that we are really passionate about, and it's a critical time. Of course, the fundraising. We are always appreciative of support at our events, like the Gala, but really for us, it's making sure that people in the community are aware of the resources and tools, but as well as the advancements that are taking place. And I would also add to reduce the stigma around dementia. There's still a lot of stigma. Families are not comfortable talking about it. And then once you take it into the workplace, there's a whole other set of challenges. And so really for us to be able to share the tools that are available as well as the advancements that are coming. There's a lot of change that's on the horizon, and it's all for the better.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up. I've said this quite a bit on some of the shows. I've been doing this for 20 years, for God's sake. Give me some opportunity to do that. And I hope I'm alive when the stigma of Alzheimer's or dementia or people that are on the spectrum or people that have mental challenges, it's not a stigma. And maybe I'm being a Pollyanna. No one's accused me of being a Pollyanna in my life and all that business. You know, David, you're the scientist, you know, in this area. And we cannot discount the importance of research. And research is not inexpensive. Doesn't make a difference how expensive it is. Donate to it. $5 is fine. $15 million is even better. But you know what? Just get involved. Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, research is very, very critical. And frankly, we could extend this all the way out to Washington when you're talking about NIH budgets and everything that's going
100%.
on in the healthcare business, where we're very, very concerned from an innovation standpoint. We have to continue to innovate to find better and better treatments, as well as diagnostics for patients and their families and advocates who are afflicted with this terrible disease. It's not only Alzheimer's, but it's other neurodegenerative conditions.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to have some folks on from Prebys Burnham coming on, and Moore's coming on soon, I believe. And obviously because of my background, being the son of a doctor and all that, your background in neuroscientist, and obviously all the stuff you've done in the health area, you know, Janet, you cannot be a big enough advocate enough to stand up and say science is real, science is going to help us, and you just can't stop a research project in the middle and think you're going to start again. Talk about that, David.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm majorly concerned about, you know, this sort of anti-science certain stance.
Inexcusable and unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, but we need to have you know, the right funding, the appropriate funding for all these brilliant scientists with great ideas to try and tackle you know, a disease which is incredibly devastating, not only to the families but also to our, you know, to our budgets. And you know, looking at Medicare, Medicaid, and what have you, the cost of this is just incredible. And it's just not the direct cost, but it's also an indirect cost to, like, caregiving, which is in the billions and now approaching trillions of dollars, which is really not even thought of when you start talking about the cost. So we need to continue to find ways to, you know, to fund either through privately or, you know, in the public capital markets, or, you know, through, you know, government organizations. Yeah,
there's no question about it, and we all know this, especially you in the space you're in, and Janet as well, is that we just don't know, boy, that, you know, study led us to X. And now, whether it's dealing with dementia or Huntington's disease or Lou Gehrig's disease or whatever, we don't know what we just unlocked because of this. So I agree. Last comment, what's the Gala, May 1?
Yes, Friday, May 1st.
And how do you sign up?
So we are, we still have some tickets available at brilliancegala.givesmart.com. Right. And I would just wanted to say we have two wonderful honorees. So we are honoring iHeartMedia as our Visionary Award for everything that they do in the community, as well as our Research Champion Award going to Dr. Greg Sahagian, who's the CEO of the Neurology Center, an incredible champion for our cause and really bringing community together with incredible stories of when music meets memory.
That's right. Good. And David, you play any music?
I don't play in music, but I love listening to music. I'm a jazz fan.
Yeah, very well. There you go. Maybe I'll see you in New Orleans one of these days.
Absolutely.
Janet, so good to see you for all the unbelievable work you continue to do in this community. And David, what a pleasure and honor. Thank you for supporting Cloudcast Atlanta, of course, and here on our Spotlight show. And this won't be the last time we'll have you on. I'll guarantee you that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. David Crean is the Brilliance Gala chair of the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial chapter, joined by Janet Hamada Kelley. the Executive Director. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. And to our audience, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.